I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, September the 26th, brought to you in part by Kansas Regenerative Medical Center. Transform your health with stem cell therapy. The stem cells come from you, not from fetuses or something weird like that. I don't want any confusion about that. But it is an alternative to surgery. 60% of their patients at Kansas Regenerative Medical Center are farmers and ranchers. Check them out if you've got something bothering you and you think they might help. Give them a call, tell them what your issues are, and they can tell you whether they think they can help you or not. For more information, go to kansasrmc.com. Going in all directions, and I'm talking about the market prices, the board continues to be supportive. Yeah, we saw a couple of the spot traded months on your CME cattle futures that were uneven or down there, but mostly it was higher, and it's been supportive here pretty much all week here, and most of last week. Your feeder cattle are higher, wean calves are higher. Of course, balling calves as we approach October are not going to be in great favor because there's a lot of them, but fat cattle are likely going to be steady this week. It's looking like they could gain $1 depending on how hard they fight. But our slaughter is lower, quite a bit lower. And they're expecting it to be a little bit tighter yet than what it's even looking like by the end of the week. So, but the heck of it is box beef cutout values are sharply lower and fell big time on Wednesday. And that is not great. I mean, we don't want to starve out the packers either. We want them to get along. I'm not sure why they can't keep that price up. And the fact that only a little dribble of their trade happens on the spot market, what we get to see on the box beef cutout values may mean why we see these low prices all the time. They do the bulk of their trade in a formula type trade way out front, similar to the way that your packers buy fat cattle. So, and we don't really get to see that, or we can't see heads or tails from it from what's reported. But your spot trade is down quite a bit, and maybe your end users, your retailers, your supermarkets, your restaurants, maybe they just aren't in big demand for it right now. But everything's going in all different directions. So we're not really sure what we can think of. We're just happy that this week we're in a nice kind of a steady mode here. We kind of you stop the bleeding a little bit from losing ground on our fat cattle trade, our feeder cattle. Of course, the few grass feeders we got left are selling really well this week. Light calves selling really well all over, even if they're not well weaned. The 4-weights have been really popular everywhere as people are starting to get light cattle in and get them warmed up for wheat when it's ready to turn out. But it's just going in every direction. You kind of have to pay attention to what's going on. An issue that's come up this week that could have an effect on our beef markets is the port strike. They've got strikes at the eastern ports and the southern ports, and then that affects your imports and exports, of course. But that could actually help our beef a little bit. We mostly export our beef out the western ports because it's going to Asia and places like that. We mostly import our beef from the southern ports because it's coming up from South America. And pork and chicken exports normally go out to the east, so it could back them up a little bit. We don't know exactly how that's going to affect all the markets, but as long as we can get our exports out, if it limits our imports a little bit, not going to hurt people's feelings in the cattle business a bit. We don't want to see anything bad happen to our protein competitors. But if things are tough on them, we're just glad it's not on us, right? But your daily livestock report was talking about drought conditions, and through the middle part of the summer, we were in really good shape, pretty much everywhere. everywhere that grazes a lot of cattle. Well, you know, of course, there's going to be exceptions, and everybody's going to come on there and say, it didn't rain at my house. But I'm talking about, you know, nationwide and in the areas where we ran a lot of cattle up through the mid part of the summer, we were in pretty good shape. Of course, we saw the dryness set in there in Wyoming and places where they had the bad fires and things, and that was rough. But we were sitting in a so-called you know, normal type year, which was a lot better than what we had been sitting in for a long time up through spring and in the middle part of the summer there, and so people weren't worrying too much about it. But boy, the last couple of months have turned off dry and extremely hot, and it dried out pasture conditions all over pretty much, and actually in worse shape than we've been over the last several years, a few of them that we consider to be really bad drought years here of late, because it got so hot and so dry. And Daily Livestock Report was thinking, well, maybe our pasture conditions are so bad that we're going to see more cows coming to town, and more of those would go to slaughter. Our cow slaughter has been down big, about 14%. There's just not that many cows out there, and nobody's been keeping any back. And the cow price has been so good, if somebody brought some bred cows in or some older cows that might have some more years left in them, the packer buyers are willing to give more for them than any of the producers that want to take them back home. So we've thinned our cows quite a bit. The heck of it is there's an ample supply of hay in most regions, and the hay is affordable for the way things are, especially as high as all of our inputs have gotten. Feed's pretty cheap. Silage is cheap. Hay is cheap. Grain is plentiful, and you're not going to see producers feeding feeder cattle hay. You know, I mean, whenever they run out of grass, if they got yearlings turned out, they're going to move them. And calves maybe the same way, or they'll keep them on the cow, and then they start running out of grass. They'll send those calves to town, but that they will feed hay to cows. People like to keep their cow herds together, and they will feed hay to them, especially when it's available and it's plentiful. And it is mostly. If hay's any higher this year than any other year, it's just the cost of getting it to you, because you know, in the central part of the country, hay's cheap. I was just over in southeast Texas. Hay's cheap down there. Hay's pretty cheap all over, and they will feed that to cows to hold them up, and they don't mind doing it. Don't forget about our Punchy Pick of the Month contest. We have fun with that each and every month, and gosh dang, it's getting close to the end of the month again. I'm going to have to put one of those together here in just a few days. And we've got several Punchy Picks came in this month. If you want to send one in, just email it to punchy@nationalbeefwire.com. You're automatically entered. It doesn't cost anything or anything like that. You will be eligible to win the grand prize. And the grand prize, I mean, we've had a lot of people get them, and they really tickled when they get them. It's a big box delivered to your house. It's got a lot of swag in it from Beaver Feed Company in Beaver, Oklahoma. Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma, they've got the coolest caps and t-shirts and sweatshirts and all that kind of thing that you've seen. You're going to get some neat stuff from National Beef Wire, some feeder flash swag. Of course, the best part of that grand prize is the whole case of Therapies, which is the revolutionary product that's scientifically proven, and you got to try it, guys. But send in your Punchy Pick of the Month picks for the next few days here if you want to get entered for this month. If not, we'll take them anytime, and then you're automatically entered for the end of that month. Let's talk about your board on Wednesday. October live cattle futures were down 15 cents, is all at 183.05. Still not even or barely a dollar basis to what our weighted average was on live steers last week, and that's about the smallest basis we've seen for quite a while this late in the traded month. December live cattle down 7 cents at 184.32, but then your back months were all up from a nickel to 25 cents, and I realize that's not a lot, but it's still supportive. Your September feeder cattle were up 42 cents at 245.37. I think people have learned to watch your real-time index when they're trying to guess where that CME cash feeder cattle index is going to go to work, because it was just a few cents off of your real-time index, and it's always up to date, so your traders can watch that. And it's sitting about $1 out ahead of your CME cash feeder cattle index, but it'll catch up. October feeder cattle contracts were up 22 cents at 246.02, and your back months were up from 2 cents to 65 cents. So continued support, and even though it was fairly light though, but it's just surprising every day whenever you look at your cattle futures and they're positive. And it just keeps happening whenever we've got up and down markets everywhere else, like I talked about at the beginning of this report. December corn was up 3.5 cents a bushel on Wednesday to your regular close at 4.15 1/4. November beans up 11 cents at 10.53 1/4 cent a bushel. Hard red winter wheat for December was up 10 cents at 5.81. Your fat cattle trade, we still haven't seen anything break loose on a direct basis and negotiated out of your 5-area feeding region. Less than 100 sold in Iowa, confirmed on Wednesday at 184. That continues to run, well within the range of last week, and it seems that those cattle sellers are going to really try hard and wait till the end of the week and see what goes on. They don't feel like, most of them don't feel like they really have to sell cattle, and if your packers want to bid less, they won't take it. Steady could trade some cattle by the end of the week, but we're not sure about that. Some fat cattle auctions. Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota had 1,100 head of slaughter cattle, including the cows and bulls. And they had good demand there. They noted good demand from buyers, including on DVAuction, online bidding on the fat cattle auction there. So always glad to know we're helping out with that. Your conventional fat cattle at Sioux Falls Regional sold from 185 to 189.50, and that was unevenly steady, but pretty close to last week. Program cattle selling from 183.5 to 188, so really no premium there for your program cattle. Glacial Lakes Livestock in Watertown, South Dakota is another DVAuction broadcaster there. They had 420 head of slaughter cattle. Conventional fats there in Watertown, South Dakota, selling steady from 182 to 186, with a few program cattle up to 187. Fat Holsteins from 160 to 168, and fat fed cows from 135 to 140. So pretty impressive slaughter cattle auction there at Glacial Lakes Livestock. Your box beef cutout values sharply lower, like I mentioned earlier. Choice cuts down 372 on Wednesday afternoon at 298.17. Your selects down 359 at 283.28. Your slaughter is falling behind, and we're expecting more maintenance or cooler cleaning in some major plants later this week, so we'll see. It's going to be light, but slaughter up through the first 3 days of the week estimated at 363,000. That was 8,000 less than last week, 17,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. How about Gelfie and Balancer bulls, guys, if you're interested in doing some crossbreeding there. In the feed yard, your Balancer influence cattle offer increased performance, improved feed efficiency, and have excellent carcass merit. Balancer cattle add the pounds, make the grade, and deliver the value. For more information, go to gelfie.org. Let's talk about your feeder cattle markets. Your real-time index on DVAuction late in the day on Wednesday, sitting at 245.30. That was basically steady, but 12 cents higher. It was up 12 cents a hundred, which is not much at all, but it was on the positive side there. And like I mentioned earlier, that's really close to where your spot September feeder cattle ended, which it's got to come together with your CME cash feeder cattle index here in just a couple of days. But the latest CME cash feeder cattle index was 244.30. They got some big sales coming up later this week in Napoleon, South Dakota. They're having a big special up there for George's birthday. That's a special that they have there. They're going to have free hamburgers. So, hell, let's go celebrate George's birthday with free hamburgers. Plus, they're going to have 4,500 head of feeder cattle on offer there. Mostly all yearlings. The weigh-ups start at 7:30 here on Thursday morning, and your yearlings start at 10:30. Now, further on west, get out to Stockman's Livestock Exchange in Dickinson, South Dakota. They've got a feeder cattle special out there too. They're going to have an awfully nice run of feeders. So you can check out both of those sales on DVAuction.com and be ready for some top quality cattle there if you're interested in bidding. And I tell you guys, if you just say that you want to be approved online, you really got to call them. They want to talk to you. They want to hear your voice. They want to talk to you. They want to get some personal information from you, and they really want to check you out before they turn you loose buying loads of yearlings, and you can't blame them for that, guys. Let's talk about your big sales on Wednesday. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, had 6,800 head. That includes calves on Tuesday, feeders on Wednesday. Your feeders sold $2 to $3 higher. Weaned calves on Tuesday sold $2 to $4 higher. Your unweaned calves are discounted, and that just, it has so much to do with the flesh condition on them, the fill condition on them, the way that they look, how bright their eyes are, how thrifty they're looking, and so it's just hard to get a market on unweaned calves, but there's a lot of them out there, and they are discounted. Give you some individual quotes from all around the country. How about Twin Falls, Idaho, at Twin Falls Livestock Commission? They sold 108 steers, weighed 906 at $236.75. Thought that was an impressive quote. Let's go even further west to Cattleman's Livestock Market in Galt, California. They sell 72 steers on Wednesday, weighed 613 and bring 289. I thought that was awfully good. How about back in the center part of the country at Winter Livestock in Dodge City, Kansas there. They sell 60 steers, weighed 731 at $266.75. Very impressive quote there. The upper Midwest there. How about Equity Cooperative in Waukon, Iowa? They sell 65 steers, weigh 806 at $262. You gotta like farmer feeder interest there. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday in your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day, come out of Hub City Livestock Auction in Aberdeen, South Dakota. They sell 58 steers, weigh 1018, and bring 241 1/4. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.